How many U.S. senators are there? 100.
How many U.S. senators are there? In the United States, Congress has two parts, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The Senate is the part where every state gets equal representation. That means every state gets the same number of senators, no matter how big or small the state is. Each state has 2 senators, and the United States has 50 states. So, when you put that together, 50 states times 2 senators each equals 100 U.S. senators. Here's an easy everyday example. Imagine there are 50 teams in a big competition, and each team is allowed to send 2 leaders to a meeting. If every team sends 2 leaders, the total would be 100 leaders in that meeting. That's exactly how the Senate works. This number stays the same because the number of states is 50, and the rule is always 2 senators per state. That's why it's a great question to memorize. You don't have to guess. So, in the exam, the correct response is short and clear, 100, 100. Say it confidently, and you're done. Any one is enough.
Quick recall. How many U.S. senators are there? 100. How long is a term for a U.S. senator? 6 years.
How long is a term for a U.S. senator? A U.S. senator is a person who represents an entire state in the United States Senate, which is one part of Congress. The Senate helps make national laws, approves important government jobs, and votes on major decisions for the country. A term for a U.S. senator is 6 years. That means once a senator is elected, they serve for 6 years before they have to run for election again. This is longer than members of the House of Representatives who serve shorter terms. The longer term helps senators focus on long-term plans and big national issues, not just quick changes. Here's an everyday example. Imagine you choose a leader for a big project. If you change the leader too often, the project may never move forward. But if the leader has more time, they can plan, work steadily, and finish important goals. That's one reason senators have a longer term. Also, remember that each state has 2 senators, and they may not both be elected in the same year. Elections are spread out, so the Senate keeps experience and stability over time. So, if you get this question in the exam, keep it simple and confident. A senator serves 6 years. Any one is enough.
Quick recall. How long is a term for a U.S. senator? 6 years. How many voting members are in the House of Representatives? 435.
How many voting members are in the House of Representatives? The House of Representatives is one part of the United States Congress. The other part is the Senate. Together, they help make the laws for the whole country. The House is made to represent the people, so states with more people get more representatives. The number of voting members in the House of Representatives is 435. 435. That means there are 435 people who can vote on laws in the House. Each one represents a district, which is a smaller area inside a state. Here's a simple way to understand it. Imagine the United States is a very large school, and each classroom chooses one person to speak for them. You would end up with a big group of speakers. In the same way, the country is divided into many districts, and each district sends one representative. Altogether, that group adds up to 435 voting members. It's also important to notice the word voting. Some areas like Washington, D.C. and U.S. territories may have representatives called delegates, but they do not always vote on the final passage of laws. That's why this question specifically says voting members. So for the exam, you only need to remember one clear number, 435. Say it confidently, and you're done. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. How many voting members are in the House of Representatives? 435. How long is a term for a member of the House of Representatives? 2 years.
How long is a term for a member of the House of Representatives? The House of Representatives is one part of Congress, and it is sometimes called the House. People in the House represent smaller areas in each state, called districts. Because they represent local communities, they run for election more often, so the people can choose again sooner. A term for a member of the House of Representatives is 2 years. That means once someone is elected to the House, they serve for 2 years, and then there is another election for that seat. Here's an easy way to remember it. House members are closer to the people, so they get checked by voters more frequently. 2 years goes by fast, so it keeps them connected to what people need. So, in the exam, keep it simple and confident. 2 years. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. How long is a term for a member of the House of Representatives? 2 years. How many senators does each state have? 2.
How many senators does each state have? In the United States, Congress is made of two parts, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The Senate is the part where every state gets equal representation, no matter how big or small the state is. That means each state has 2 senators. It does not matter if the state has a huge population like California or a smaller population like Wyoming. Every state still gets the same number, 2 senators. This helps keep the system balanced, so smaller states still have a strong voice in the federal government. Here's a simple everyday example. Imagine a meeting where every team gets the same number of speakers. Even if one team is large and another team is small, they both get 2 people to speak for them. That's how the Senate works. So if you hear this question in the exam, the answer is short and direct. 2. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. How many senators does each state have? 2. The President of the United States is elected for how many years? 4 years.
The President of the United States is elected for how many years? The President is the leader of the U.S. government's executive branch. This is the person who helps run the country, works with Congress, and represents the United States when dealing with other countries. A president does not stay in office forever. The job has a set time limit, so the people can choose again. The president is elected for 4 years. That means one presidential term lasts 4 years. Here's an easy way to remember it. Think of it like a work contract for a major leadership job. The president gets 4 years to do the work, and then the country votes again. If the people still want that president, they can vote for them again for another 4 years. But the key number you must remember for this question is just one: 4 years. So if you hear this in the exam, keep it short and confident. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. The President of the United States is elected for how many years? 4 years. How many seats are on the Supreme Court? 9.
How many seats are on the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. It is made up of a group of judges called justices. Each justice has 1 seat, and together they make important decisions about laws and the Constitution. The number of seats on the Supreme Court is 9.
That means there are usually 9 justices serving at the same time, and they vote to decide cases. Here's a simple way to remember it. Picture a group of 9 judges sitting in a Supreme Court courtroom. When they vote, the group follows the majority decision. So in the exam, you can confidently say 9, 9. Any one is enough.
Quick recall. How many seats are on the Supreme Court? 9. How many Supreme Court justices are usually needed to decide a case? 5.
How many Supreme Court justices are usually needed to decide a case? The Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. When the justices hear a case, they discuss it and then vote on the final decision. The decision is made by a majority, which means more than half of the justices who vote. That is why the number you need to remember is 5. 5 votes is the smallest majority that can decide the case. Here's an everyday example. Imagine 9 people are choosing between 2 options. If one option gets 5 votes and the other gets 4 votes, the group decision goes with the 5. The Supreme Court works the same way. So in the exam, the correct response is 5, 5. Any one is enough.
Quick recall. How many Supreme Court justices are usually needed to decide a case? 5. How long do Supreme Court justices serve? For life, lifetime appointment, until retirement.
How long do Supreme Court justices serve? Supreme Court justices are judges on the highest court in the United States. Their job is very important because they help decide what the Constitution means and how laws should be applied. Supreme Court justices serve for life. That means they do not have to run for election again, and they do not have a set number of years like some other government jobs. This is also called a lifetime appointment, because once a justice is chosen, they can stay in that role for the rest of their life. But a justice does not have to stay forever if they don't want to. They can leave the job until retirement. That means they can choose to step down when they feel ready, usually after many years of service. Here's an easy example. Imagine someone gets a job where they can keep working as long as they are able and want to, and they only leave when they decide to retire. That is how Supreme Court justices serve. So, in the exam, you can say any one correct response. For life, lifetime appointment, or until retirement. Any one is enough.
Quick recall. How long do Supreme Court justices serve? For life, lifetime appointment, until retirement.